All right, here's what you do if you are just absolutely drowning in debt. And I'm going to speak from my own experience as somebody who has lived off of $10 an hour and then made $150,000 my first year of sales, like broke out of poverty, survived homelessness. I am not a financial advisor, okay? But I do have a degree in neuroscience, and I like to talk about like the brain science behind it, because most of the budgeting advice out there is for savers, not spenders. And if you're in a lot of debt, I'm going to guess you like to spend your money. All right. So if the problem was a math problem, this is the issue, is that most of the budgeting advice out there is just like, you just have to put it in a tracker and stick to the plan. You're not going to do that. Okay. We know you're not going to do that. I know you're not going to do that. You know, I know that you know you're not going to do that. If it was a math problem, fourth grade would have solved the issue. It's not a math problem. Okay. It's an emotional issue. So you're likely somebody who likes to spend their money. Okay. Spending your money is a very dopamine driven activity. Okay. Dopamine is the molecule of more. It's the thing that says, do it again. Okay. I just recently made some purchases, and the thing is, like, when you're a recovering spender, it can be hard to trust yourself with money again and like spending, because it feels like spending is bad and you shouldn't be doing it. You just got to learn to balance. So when you're drowning in debt, the problem is that there's two parts of your brain that are relevant for this conversation: your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala. What happens is that our amygdala is usually the one that takes over on the financial decision making, because our finances are so emotional, like they're so traumatic. They're usually tied up in past trauma. And the amygdala is very unconscious. It's impulsive, it's emotional, it's reactionary, okay? Its job is to determine if something in our environment is a threat, okay? It asks one question: is this gonna kill us, okay? And so when we behave from a place of I feel threatened, you ain't gonna make the good decisions, okay? So what does this have to do if you're drowning in debt? What needs to happen when you're drowning in debt is you have to separate your objective from subjective experience. Why? Because it gets blood to flow from your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, to your prefrontal cortex. Okay, your prefrontal cortex is in charge of impulse control, thinking about the future, complex decision making, and emotional regulation, right? Which is what we need, because we make spending decisions from emotion, from impulse. When you're drowning in debt, there's all these stories going on in your head. You're like, I'm a failure, I fucked this up, I'm never going to get out of it, whatever the story might be. That is your subjective observation of your reality. It doesn't help you. It gets you in your amygdala. You need to get into your prefrontal cortex, okay? And if you can separate the two and just notice that there's a difference, you're going to get blood to the flow to your prefrontal cortex, and you're going to be able to start making decisions that actually get you out of debt. Okay, and so if you can start to make objective observations in your day-to-day reality, and obviously around your finances, but I feel like it's easier to start with something that isn't your money because it's less emotionally triggering, and then you can learn the skill in a different domain and transfer it over. This is actually something that I learned when I tried to do like lucid dreaming for a while when I was in my teens. They tell you in your dreams, if you didn't notice this, if you flip a light switch, it doesn't change the lights in your dream. And so to learn how to lucid dream, they'd say flip on a light switch in your day-to-day life, so that when in your dream you would know to do it. And that's an easy trigger or cue to notice that you're lucid dreaming. What you want to do in your day-to-day life, what this has to do with money and objective reality, is that you want to start noticing and just pointing out objective facts about your reality. I am wearing a green shirt. Like, my last name is Bears. It is 72 degrees outside today. Whatever, like naming things that are indisputable facts, because it starts to train your brain to separate the emotional experience from your objective reality. That's going to help you make more concrete decisions about debt, because debt is just numbers. It's just math. We just add all these stories onto it, and then when we spend our money, we add stories onto it. It's all emotional. It all comes from our trauma. And the more you can separate the two, the more in control you'll be of your finances, and the more likely you will be to stick to a plan. Okay? If you need a budgeting template, also people always ask me in these videos, go to the link in my bio. You can use it. It's free. It like may or may not help you. You can try it out. If you're like, okay, what do I do now? Go get that template, start there, see if that helps out.